Okay, so once upon a time, progress looks simple: build more, produce more, travel more, and consume more. Economic growth means success. Bigger cities mean development. Cheap energy means opportunities. And for decades, carbon emissions were just the invisible, or all that. They were background or noisy. Nobody really thought about them naturally. But slowly, the numbers start to grow, and they didn't stop. So I want to ask a simple question. Is global carbon emissions keep rising? Who is really responsible? And does what we do actually matter? And every day we hear about climate change, rising temperatures, melting ice, and extreme weather. And we are told that we are responsible. If you look at the global data from 1916 to today, emissions has more than tripled. Even when the world shut down during the pandemic, emissions dropped briefly and then come back straight up. This tells us something important. This is not accidental, it's built into how our world works. It's almost untouchable. If the whole world is doing it, what difference can one person make? And until one day, instead of looking at the world as a bigger number, we break it down. Who is actually producing most of this carbon? When we look at total emissions by countries, we see just a few places doming the charts: China and the US and India and the European Union. Suddenly, the responsibility doesn't look even sharper, but even that doesn't fully answer the questions. Because countries aren't peoples. China have over 1 billion people, but the US have far fewer. So the total emission only tell part of the story. And because of that, we look at the emission per person, and that can change everything. Now we can see that some countries emit 3 or 4 times more carbon per person than the global average, like Australia, Canada, and the US. Meanwhile, the countries like India emit a fraction of that per person. So that isn't just about population, maybe it's about our lifestyle, how we travel, how much we consume, and how often we upgrade our things. The data start to point somewhere uncomfortable. High consumption lifestyles produce high emissions. So because of that, we uh, uh, we want to know if lifestyle-driven emissions can lifestyle change reduce them. So we'll look at the trend over time, and something interesting appears. In US, emissions per person have fallen from 20 tons to under 15 tons. In the European Union, the decline is steady. That means something changed. Our renewable energy and our policy shifts. Also, because of that, the story becomes clear. Individual behaviors alone won't solve climate change, but our behaviors shape demand. Demand shape markets, markets shape the policy, and the policy shapes the system. The system is so big, but it doesn't disconnect from ourselves until finally we we put it together. Global emissions are rising. A few countries dominate the total output. So who is responsible actually? Actually, not everyone equal, but the influence is not equal either. And ever since look at as a this way, climate change feel less abstract. It's not just about governments or corporations. It's about transport system, energy grids, and food system. And yes, every day our habits influence the system. The moral of the story is this: climate change is global, but emission is personal. Not everyone contributes equally, but collective change is powerful. If high emission lifestyle began to shift, even gradually, the curve can bend. So maybe the real question isn't does my action matter? Maybe the real question is what happens when millions of people decide to do it? And the answer is to everything start to change.